Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Score Fairfield County live webinar. The topic today is loyal customers through the digital experience, content and conversations. It's a lot of words, but there's a lot of content here too, so stay tuned. I'm Steve Smith, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor also here at Score, and I'll be your host. And our presenter today is Kate Berg. Kate is I don't want to say a frequent speaker because that wouldn't be true, but she's not an infrequent speaker in our webinar program. Let me say that. I'll tell you more about her in just a second, but I got to tell you a little bit more about Score. Many of you have heard this before, so just bear with me for a second. But Score was started back in the 1960s as a part of the Small Business Administration of the U.S. government. We've expanded over that long period of time to over 300 offices in the United States and over 11,000 volunteers on a national basis. Score is divided into local chapters, and Score Fairfield County is one of those chapters. We have 130 volunteers with varying degrees of industry expertise, business process expertise, and subject matter expertise. We really deliver three value-added services into the marketplace. One is a workshop and webinar program, which you are involved in right now, obviously. The workshops typically take place at library venues around Fairfield County, and we do somewhere in the neighborhood of 130 to 140 of those per year. The webinar program, which we've been doing for 2.5 years now or so, is done like this, noon to 1, twice a month, sometimes 3 if there are 5 Tuesdays in a month. We also do one-on-one counseling and mentoring at our offices at 111 East Avenue in Norwalk. You can sign up for either workshops, webinars, or one-on-one counseling by going to our website, which is fairfieldcounty.score.org. Also, at that website, you'll also see a lot of information, frequently asked questions, tools, answers to questions that small business owners often ask us. So there's really a wealth of knowledge at our website, and maybe even prepare you better before you go to a one-on-one workshop. So again, welcome to the webinar program. Our next webinar is going to be December 18th. That's 2 weeks, same time. And different speaker. Our speaker will be Cliff Enico, who is also a not infrequent speaker at our webinars. He'll be talking about financing options for small business. We've had that subject before. It continues to change, and you'll get the last and greatest from Cliff at that time. As some of you know, you get reminders via email for these webinars, and you've already gotten one about Cliff. You'll get 2 more. The last one the morning of. 2 special reminders. Special reminder number 1. We have a very, very popular workshop, not webinar, workshop series called Simple Steps, and the next one is about to start. It's going to be January 8th in the Norwalk Library. It's 5 sessions. The last one is on February 12th. It's extremely popular and extremely powerful, full of content for people who are either thinking about starting a business or just starting it. Special reminder number 2. Last week we had a webinar on Instagram for small business by Lorraine Duncan. We had some audio problems with that, so we re-recorded it yesterday. Actually, was it Monday or Sunday? I don't know. I'll say Monday. It's now out at our website. It was extremely popular. We had almost 200 people sign up for it and well over 100 attend. So we went to the effort of re-recording it, and it's out there now for your viewing. Again, just go to fairfieldcounty.score.org, and you can click right through there. Also, these days out, when you get out to YouTube, where our archived webinars reside, you'll find a playlist which will make it easier for you to navigate through what content is available there as it's starting to kind of build up over the years. So please take advantage of that playlist. Okay, I have already told you that this is being recorded. This webinar is being recorded. It's going to be out there on our website later today. We're going to end this exactly at 1 o'clock unless something really unusual happens, because I know your time is extremely important. We will do Q's and A's at the end, or Kate loves to do them during her presentation, so she'll be watching the chat room as well. And sometimes from a contextual point of view, it's better to just answer the question right away rather than wait till the end. So she and I'll try to manage that as best we can. At the end of sorry for this long discussion here. I'm taking Kate's, which is much more important than my blathering along. But we are going to send you a evaluation at the end of the webinar, so please fill that out, and that's very helpful to us. Now, Kate. Kate has over 25 years of experience in technology and strategic marketing. She's focused on a whole array of things, from helping companies to grow, helping companies go public, helping companies secure capital funding, and I think the last company she sold was for over $100 million in November of 2016. She's built 2 social media and mobile-based businesses before she was 2008 years old. No, actually, what I meant to say was she's built 2 social media and mobile-based businesses before the year 2008. She has a lot of experience in content marketing and influencer communities. She's built a global PR business for Gartner in the 90s. She's helped KPMG. So she's been in small businesses, big businesses, and she's actually a SCORE mentor as well, and she has been since 2009. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to turn it over to Kate, and Kate, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Steve. It was really nice of you to spend so much time on my bio. We can dispense with discussion about me. It's in honor of the topic for today, which is really customer experience and getting better content and ratings and reviews from your beloved customers and client base. I would say it's all about you all. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, and Merry Christmas to you all. I'd love to jump right in and really talk about what we're going to cover with this section. And Steve, am I driving the slides, or are you? I am. Okay, great. So what we're just going to talk about how to build your brand through awesome CX, customer experience. You may be seeing the letters CX more often now. This is an increasingly common digital metric because people are using digital for much more, and it's a lot easier and becoming increasingly easier for merchants and entrepreneurs to address customer experience in a variety of ways and measure happiness of their clients. Online ratings and reviews are just one of those types of things, and people are certainly doing a lot of sharing online, as you are well aware, so this is something you can harness and hopefully put to use for your own benefit. Finding the story in your daily customer interactions. I think we get so caught up in, we have so many hats to wear, we're paying the bills, we're dealing with hiring and perhaps changing staff when it's not working, and sometimes we forget that problem solving is one of the great things, or delight making for your clients is why you're in business. And if you take the time to quickly capture some of those things, even in your smartphone, and then you can use those little items or have the clients share directly with you. You can share that out. So we can talk about some of the methods for that. Moving on, I don't look like I am driving this. Doesn't look like I am. No, I wasn't using enough force. Sorry about that, guys. So really talking about the road ahead. And if you're saying, gee, should I invest in digital marketing today for my business, asking that question, in my opinion, would be like asking if you really want to be in business in 3 years. The ground is shifting underneath us so rapidly that it really feels like every every quarter there's sort of different digital platforms and issues to discuss. And I think, just to put that fine point on that, as an example, more than 48% of seniors over the age of 70 have smartphones and use everything from email to websites to Facebook and more. So if your over 70 crowd is very much focused on that increasingly daily, certainly if your client base and your prospect base is under 70, you better make sure you're doing best practices here. So, along that line, something that is critical for local businesses is that 80% of consumers use Google and other search engines monthly to find reputable local businesses. And of those that search, 75% of those searches result in a purchase that day. So mobile is an important kind of real-time tool for both ends of the equation. If you can be there and put the breadcrumbs in the right places, you're going to have an opportunity that you've never had before to scoop up new business if you have the right things in place. So one of the things, this doesn't really belong any particular slide, so I just put it here because it is foremost in customer experience, is you got to make sure that the basics are there in your business, and one of those things is certainly page load speed on a website. And some of the businesses I talk to, they're running an excellent business for more than 10 years, maybe 20 years or even more, and their website was done perhaps 10 years ago, and they really haven't invested in kind of ensuring that their technology is up to speed for the new browsers, for the new technologies that are out there. So it's a fairly easy thing to check and to test, and so that's something you should put on your list. Frankly, your customers today are really more than they ever were before going to drive your business growth for tomorrow. And so I think that the conversation today is really going to be, I'm going to harp on turning it to it's all about them. It's all about their needs, and really trying to understand how you can execute excellent customer service at all times to really help them get what they're looking for. One thing about we're going to spend a fair amount of time talking about search engine. One of the things now that's hot is voice, and you've certainly seen the commercials on TV, and you will hear NPR and other announcers saying, "Ask your smart speaker to find WNYC or NPR." Semantic search has been in place with Google algorithms for more than 5 years now. That has to be updated. It's probably 8 years or 10 years. Maybe 8 years, and now voice is a component. So it's important to make sure that you're using, more important than ever, to use real-world, like conversational queries and match content based on synonyms for what your customers might be looking for. So, for example, creating great content that's clear and easy to find it is all about just describing your business in very clear language, and in language that your customers are actually using today. Not how you think of it, but how they're talking about it. And then the search engines will do the rest for you. So, for example, when you're talking to your clients, jot down exact language to use on your social sites, on your website. So, for example, a nutritionist might hear her clients say, or his clients say, "I just want to live a more healthy life, and I want to gain control of my body or of my schedule, and I want to eat well." Use this language in your social posts and website copy, and mention perhaps even the town that client lives in. For example, Beth, my newest client from Stanford, loves how easy it is to stick to her new nutrition program. She doesn't get bored, which has been a problem with diets in the past that she used. Regional and local specificity will help your search engine optimization, and it will help people find you. So that's an important point there. And so Google Plus I put here on the slide as a must. If you have not claimed your your business page, it's very easy to do. Just search on Google. It's likely in there listed, and you need to do a few steps to claim that page with Google, and it walks you through. It's very simple to use. So I'm just going to pause and look over on the chat here. So again, like semantic search is your friend as a business owner. I don't have it marked down here. I have researched this in the past. It's very easy to find. Just type in, Bruce, checking website page load speed, and you will probably find a number of reputable, not spam, not viruses, but reputable vendors to provide a check. It's a very common thing, and it's the basics for for good business practices in digital now today. So if for some weird reason you have any trouble, please call Bud or Steve or somebody from the SCORE offices, and I can get back to you. Bud, you're asking, is this you? Okay. Facebook tells us they removed 1.5 billion accounts in the last 6 months. They also report that 1.49 billion people touch them daily. How do you build a great customer experience on a platform with questionable credibility? Well, gee, Bud, why don't we pick a topic a little bit more pregnant? I mean, that's a major conversation. Yeah, controversial and a real challenge, because in the past I would certainly if you all have heard me talk before, I've never been a big old fan of Facebook, and now I sound, like I'm jumping on a bandwagon. But I have been concerned about the management practices of the company for a long time. I don't think anybody has the answer to this yet. I think you need, as a small business owner, you need to, use the platform, and perhaps if you have a successful formula for doing so, continue to do so, until there's a better alternative. I would say that you can spread the love around and invest in your own content for your own property. I've never been a fan of building a business on a social platform and putting all of your effort to that. It really should be owned stuff, and you can use Instagram, increasingly popular with small businesses, Twitter, depending on the business, LinkedIn for sure if you're a B2B concern. That is an awesome place, and you can publish your own content, and then you can just syndicate it, meaning publish it also over on LinkedIn. But bring people back over to you. Put a page up on LinkedIn. Direct people back to you for a call to action, a CTA. And that call to action could be nothing more than join our fan list, join our readers and subscribers, or our network. You could create a user group of people if you're a business-to-business concern, and you could create a group that is peer-to-peer. People really love to talk to others who are dealing with the same issues. Say it's a security consultant, computer security, that you do software security for companies. You could start a really vibrant group that's local to your area, regional. That would be making it more relevant to the people that you're working with, and they could meet, and it could be kind of a networking opportunity online for them. And then, of course, join other groups on LinkedIn which help you show off your expertise, which we'll get into in a little bit more detail in a minute. I went off on a tangent there. Hopefully you don't mind. So one thing I would say is, before I move off this, do a digital audit by looking up your own brand name, your own company name, and then generically searching on a quarterly basis. Generically searching meaning search for the type of thing you're offering in the catering, events, nutrition, computer repair, to see what comes up and see who pops up where, because of course your IP address is going to be dictating what kind of results you do get, and you'll start to understand much better how Google, Bing, and Yahoo are culling and spidering the web to figure out what results to deliver, and then you can better attack that problem for your business. So I would consider doing that regularly. You've got to be at the party, right? So I often talk about platforms for the whole hour, and I just had to carve out a little bit of time to just. I don't have any simple answers, what social sites you should use. I do know that when I updated this deck today, I had to remove one, what was it? Oh, it was Google+. Google+ is no more. So I used to talk about it all the time because it's owned by Google. They would certainly give it a lot of love, and I would always recommend, trying to spend at least one or two posts a month, pop it over onto Google+, so that it really helps in search results for your business, because it was just one more thing that Google could sort of throw up there on the first rankings. But it is not an option now. So I would say most people that I'm imagining I'm talking to here would be interested in the ones we've just mentioned. I've mentioned LinkedIn, Facebook, Yelp. I haven't mentioned Yelp yet, but I will. Instagram and YouTube for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that goes to the use of video. So I'm looking over. David Lyons says, "Does LinkedIn have has B2C value?" Gee, that's a good one. Let me think about that a little bit. I don't want to get off on a tangent, and I'm pretty tangent prone. Let's see. I will think about that a little bit. I'm sure that there are cases, but I would say for the very most part, I would say no. I would say it's really, really big strength is in business to business. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. Happy to entertain that. So one of the big things I wanted to mention today is, good point, bud. Yeah, so if you're a solopreneur, if you're a single person in business, you definitely could use that platform. So back to Instagram has stories. I'm sure you've been hearing about stories. They swiped this concept from Snap, formerly known as Snapchat, and successfully kind of squashed anybody else's results. Today, there's over 200 million people daily are using stories every day, and that's just a monster number. And it goes to how many people have flocked to Instagram. More even so now, as Facebook's, people are developing a permanent frowny face on that one. So I would say Instagram's even more popular, and I don't know what will happen. My hunch is, and I've been in social media since the very beginning, my hunch is that this is going to not be great over time. More and more advertisers, I'm sure you're seeing, are piling on to that platform and kind of muddying up your nice stream, your thread. The one mitigating factor there is that it is a more pleasant experience than on other platforms to be interrupted by ads. They're more artful usually and more light-hearted and more entertaining. So, but nonetheless, you're probably seeing a ratio that's going up on the advertising factor if you're a user of Instagram. And if you're not, you probably should be. Because if you're a small business or a regional, local, player, you should probably know where a lot of the eyeballs are and keep up on it. You can just lurk. You don't need to post at first. Just get on there and see what's going on. Certainly, I think stories is important to talk about, and these lie up on the top of the Instagram feed. They're not static pictures anymore. I mean, you still have that, but then on the top you have a series of stories that are posted, and I'm seeing just some terrific local brands using this. And I would, in order to educate yourself, you could take this session as a jumping off point and get on Insta if you're not on, and follow a couple of cool restaurants or retailers or brands that you think have something going on, either local or national, and follow them and watch what they're doing, because you can copy all those ideas. There's nothing wrong with that. what about, I'm looking over at Linda Miller's comment on the left here. What about Google My Business? Yeah, I'm not sure I know. Linda, perhaps, I'm sure that is a great tool, and if I forgot to mention it, Google My Business has been invented for just the discussion I was covering, which is to see how you appear in search. So, I think the point of this slide is check out stories. They're not hard to do. You can do them right from your smartphone, and what this basically boils down to is shooting a short video, whether it's 10 seconds, 15 seconds or so, I think it's as long as you can go, and creating some graphical element which is embedded. It's right on the platform itself, so you don't need any special editing software. There's some great software tools. There are some great software tools that you can use, but it's not necessary to. And try posting a story or two, and these are terrific to use. And can augment your other content, which I'm about to get into, which is more long-form content. So, if any of you had advertising, promotion, marketing in your school days, the 4 Ps of marketing were the thing: price, product, promotion, and place. Now, this has changed, and it's been turned in some ways on its head because we, the consumer, whether I'm a business consumer or a consumer, it's all the same. We're actively involved in the process of buying now. We're buying. We're not being sold anymore. Consumers do the research, and in fact, is the very least amount of generally what they have found in research, and this is from Pew and from others who are very reputable, an average of 6 places. I'm going an average of 6 places before I even find you. If I'm if I land on your website or your social post or feed. So the point of that is I've determined my need. I've educated myself somewhat. I've done some evaluation of you, and then I come to see you. So think about how that changes your conversation. And of course, online reviews are a big part of that, bullet number 3 there. And you say, why is that? Why am I reading reviews rather than reading the great marketing material that might be out there on my website? Well, there's no reason as a consumer that I should rely on what a business says about a product or a service when I can see what customers are actually saying. We can certainly debate, and people do, the validity of some of those reviews. But we can't really change the reality that's how social media works. That's how digital has gone. So it's something that you want to try and wrap your arms around and really leverage for your own best ability. I think, the businesses that I see that are thriving today, they are not necessarily spending their waking minute thinking about digital marketing for Pete's sake, but they're thinking about their passion and what gets them up in the morning, the why. Why did they start that business? What are they doing to make their customers delighted or solve their problems? And digital, they have folded that in, and they continue to fold that in to reach people in new creative ways and build community, build fans and followers. And it sounds very social media-esque when you say get fans and followers, but really they'd be fans and followers back in the old days too. These people just now have a way to communicate much more easily to you, and it's a two-way dialogue. So think of it that way, and perhaps it's not so intimidating. As you engage, I'm a big fan of people when they are asking me how I prefer to communicate, because you put a sign-up sheet in front of me when I walk into your salon, and maybe I don't want to give you my email. I would love it if that sheet said, how do you prefer to be communicated with? It shows respect, and I think we would like that in our lives, at least I would, so you can imagine your customers would like that. If they are interested in text, this is a great opportunity to try something if you haven't. I did an experiment recently and signed up with Easy Texting as just one company. There are other companies out there, but I found them to be really good for customer service in their own right. I got a gentleman called me. He wasn't pushy. We started a communication. I told him I wasn't ready to do something yet, but I was interested in how it would work. I went on the website. It was dead simple to figure out. The biggest thing was how do you want your promotion to go and what your promotion is going to be. There's zero technical knowledge needed for that. So that's an exciting thing if you can build a mobile phone list for your prospects, for your clients, and think about how you might give them a sneak peek at something, a better deal than anyone else. This is a special group of customers or prospects. You do it any way you want. You could create 2 groups, 3 groups. It's database at its best there, and something well worth focusing on. And we'll talk about that now. So treating your customers with love, and again, it's about them. It's not about you. So build that client prospect database as the sort of anchoring element of your digital marketing. I think we might think, oh, gee, email, that's so 2002. But it's not. It really can be a focal point for your digital marketing business efforts. And I'm certainly interested if you could put together a very brief, I'm talking about 400 to 500 words and many images, several images, weekly email. And you could put that on your website. People talk, oh, gee, I have to do a blog. Well, that could be, just what is happening next week or next month in your business, what has happened if you had a great event. Create that in a blurb fashion, very, very brief, 2 or 3 bullets, photo. Boom, now you've got a blog post. Get that link. You can use Bitly or another link shortening software site that's simple to use, and pop it up on Instagram and create a post with an image and invite people to come on over, and on Facebook as well. Constant Contact is a great vendor if you've had experience with them. There are others too, Exact Target. They're really great. They're mobily, their responsive design templates are there so that you can ensure that it reads really well on a smartphone, and you don't have to do any of the work on formatting. You simply think of your content, and that's the great news. Over the last half a dozen years, all of these technologies have become much more simple to use, and you just need to focus on brevity, I would say brief and important communications, and visually sort of arresting communications that can grab and nurture your audience and build that relationship with them. And creating content schedule is probably a great idea, and I would start with quarters, because quarters, it's all, you only have to think of 4 things, and for your editorial calendar in a very general sense. And if you look at it outlined that way, certainly on a Sunday when you're watching the ball game, you can sort of start to noodle and creatively think about other things that are you're planning for the year ahead that'll fall within those quarters, and you start to see take shape your editorial calendar and your themes. If there's a part of your business that you want to grow, that there's great fruit for you, by all means, start to develop content around that. Let's say you're shifting your business if you're a nutritionist or let's say a catering, an event business, and you're seeing that people are interested in smaller, more casual events. You could start to feature, you could have a content series that's themed, close and casual, just brainstorming here, but just things that are going to sort of be in line with not only trend, but what you're actually seeing on the ground as the business owner, and meet your customers right where they are. also highlight new services and products. Sort of just talked about that. Talk it through. And talk about it through through the customer's lens. And so as your content is being built, I would. You don't have to use names if you don't feel comfortable. If you don't have permission, you can just talk about clients, and first names are probably fine. You can do that, and create a call to action. Always want to drive people to action, and in order to move your marketing efforts beyond just creating awareness to actually picking up the phone or having them email for more information to book that service, to buy that product, and to leave a review. So, one thing I would say about Yelp is that, there's a lot of discussion about Yelp. It's probably better for some businesses than others, but I do think in general, one thing I know is consumers' eyes and your eyes are trained to skim down past the ads and look for the UGC, the user-generated content, those ratings, those reviews, which add up to how many stars, and you sort of do this split-second analysis, don't you, at this point, even just to go out to dinner. And much has been said specifically about Yelp for small business, and not a lot of great things are said. And so that's not something I want to debate today, but for now, really work on your customer service and your customer experience, because this is going to affect your overall review here. So, and it says in this data I looked up, it's a similar 70% of those who trash a business's customer service wind up giving a 1-star review. You do not want that. So try and avoid that like, anything, and make sure you're checking in. It's a relationship. If you're raising children or you're married or you're in a relationship, you're checking in to see if that person's happy or sad or doing well or feeling good. Do the same with your customers. And use digital, the benefits of the interactivity. I don't see enough businesses doing that. I think a lot of us are stuck in a mode of thinking that we're sort of just broadcasting our information and hoping for the best. And, I think that's utterly shifted. And so in any case, some things to heed. I'm going to hold off on reading the things on the left because I'm going to get all distracted. And talked about Google claiming your page, so I'm not going to go into that again right now. Google.com business, how it works. So many resources out there. I think my main point on this is Google's done an amazing job, as well as other companies, Facebook, Yahoo, in now serving your needs, as I will assume are local, more regional businesses on the line today. And they didn't do it at first because the big money was in the much larger enterprises internationally. But now, they rule the world. Now they're hitting the last miles, and they've put a ton of money and resources into local and regional businesses. And my point here is, with Facebook, for example, you could call and get a salesperson on the phone who will help you if you want to advertise with Facebook. They will call you, they will consult with you, and they will help you figure out what you need. And that wasn't the case half a dozen years ago. So that's good fun. So this is just some interesting stats here for you about getting the right kind of reviews. 72% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations from real people. So those things live, and they are stuff that as a business owner you probably are already living with, so I'm preaching to the choir. 68% of consumers go to social networking sites to review products and reviews. A lot of research is done through social now and through social media channels. Less and less is done on actually your website. That is a shift that's happened again in the last 5 years. Your website's still important. It's got to be there, and it's got to be excellent. That's table stakes, but it's not the only input now. It's not even the first input. And then this yellow one, yellow box, 90% of consumers say that positive online reviews influence their buying decisions. That doesn't sound too hard to believe. Gee. Okay, so here's actually some take-home ideas for you. I think these are is a good list, and this deck will certainly be made available. Take notes as you will, but this can be sent out so you don't have to. So here are 12 ideas, and I think I talked briefly about a call to action and having this on your site. Make it easy for people to go and see where they can write a review. And that sounds obvious, but make sure if you haven't updated your digital presence in a while that you're making that a priority. Say thank you, and I think that goes a long way for people and then they leave a review. I recently bought something online, and it was a cream or some sort of product, and the owner reached out as she had mailed it and said, when you receive it, just let me know if you received it and if you wouldn't mind leaving a review. We're a small brand and we get lost in the sauce, And I thought, boy, that's personal outreach, and I did. I took the time to do that. I don't often, but I felt the need to do that. Send a personalized text, sorry about I forgot the D, text or email, so that goes to what I just said. Reach out to a negative reviewer. This is kind of a weird one, right? You don't think that you don't really want to, but it probably is a really good thing, and it's a good tactic, and then frankly, it's just good business. Oftentimes, those people become the more ardent fans of yours if you really, sorry about that, guys. If you correct that problem for them, boy, they'll love you forever. And spread positive reviews. Share and promote by all means. Share those reviews. If somebody said something great to you on the phone even, let's say, and they didn't put it into a digital format, and you are a computer repair service, let's say, and you jot that down, and then you say, oh, gosh, that's a nice thing you just said. Do you mind if I use that? No, I don't mind. You could put that on LinkedIn. I would just type that up in quotes, and you don't, and he's given you or she's given you permission, you could quote them and put that as a post, maybe write a little paragraph around that. Steve?
Yeah, Kate, I'm going to give you a chance to take a breather here. And but there's a lot of questions here about reviews, and I think a lot of people are kind of interested in this topic. And there's one here that's interesting, I think probably not that atypical, from David Lyons. We have 67,000 that's a lot, Facebook followers and 22 reviews. How do you get people to do reviews? And you've been talking about that. He said we've tried a number of apps and companies to try to collect them. Any quick tips on that?
Well, I'm afraid quick tips is not going to be my answer. I think, there sometimes is no way around the sneaker method, as we used to call it back when I worked at Gartner, which is, kind of personal involvement. You may need to create a contest that's, literally just off the top of my head here, you could say create a contest that involves stories of people's nightmares or happy stories, and the best input gets something that you're going to give away. You need to generate interaction, and you need to incentivize people to want to interact. And there is not always a bot that's going to solve that problem for you. Certainly that ratio is really low, and I feel your pain. You could bring it up by encouraging. I've had customers. If you have employees that you can train, and everyone in your operation is trained to focus on, January is reviews month, and we're going to do a contest in the company. Again, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here. We're going to have, if we can, whoever gets the most reviews posted by customers by their efforts, or if we can get to this number as a team, we'll have a lunch, or something like that.
Okay, that's good. So let me. David wants to respond, but I know you've got quite a few slides to go through yet, so let me go back. Three more. Okay, I can only. Oh, that's all I can see. Okay, so I'm gonna. I'm just looking at these, and I think I like this Survey Monkey question just because I monkeyed around with it, no pun intended myself. Any role for surveys for testing client satisfaction?
Yeah, I love that, and I would say that in general, long form, and those are longer form. I mean, obviously, Survey Monkey, you can do short or long. Just a quick plug for them. You can do up to 10 questions on Survey Monkey for free. At least that's always been the case. If you want more sophisticated, longer surveys, you can sign up, and it's not even that much. But anyway, so for free, you could try out Survey Monkey, and you could create just a 2-question survey. I love that idea. I think it's smart. I think it's a great thing. I would say make it dead simple for people. If you've been in flying lately, you get out of the ladies' room or the men's room at the airport, and there's like a frowny face and a smiley face, and you can push one button to tell how your experience was, how clean the place was. Think in terms of that level of like, it sounds childish, but it's truly got to be simple and short, and I love it if you do it. And I also want to comment on the 10% off that David Lyons, yeah, I think that's a good thing. I would say that my only thing is people are kind of inundated with the 10% off thing. It sort of goes by our eyes now. I would say if you can create urgency in that or specificity, it makes it more valuable. So if it's by Sunday or at the end of today or, like flash sale, you can do a flash sale any business that you're in. You could do a flash sale if you're in computer security and say, and tie it to a trend or a news story or a client story, always a client story. Use stories that are real and say, we solved this problem. They had a nightmare and we solved it for them. And so as a tribute to good security in 2019, we're going to offer a deal for just this, week or whatever. And always respond. I'm just going to, in interest of time, I'm just going to carve through here. You've been able to see them up on the screen for a few moments. Always respond, negative or positive. Harvard Business Review found that hotels that respond receive 12% more reviews and their ratings increase. So be responsive. Delegate someone in your company if you cannot do it, and that's part of their job now. Welcome to the digital revolution. Give them, they're responsible for making sure everybody gets a response, and I think it's important to do that as well. For any business you're in. This is weird and out of place. I'm sorry, I meant this to go under the Instagram piece. Because if you aren't interested in, you can use a couple of different very simple software. These are apps that you just download. I don't even know if they cost anything. If they do, it's just $1 or $2. And LumaVision was, I went on YouTube and found these talked about. Search YouTube for any of the things that we've discussed that you're scratching your head on and saying, gosh, she was talking about a lot of stuff. I'm not really sure what she meant. YouTube is amazing and will educate you. There are people making major livings out there educating on digital marketing, and there are probably 10 times better presenters than me. So you can go there and check that out and find some things out that you didn't know. But in general, shoot vertical, not landscape. That seems obvious. Keep your shots nice and short, or you could plan and then edit it down. But, you didn't go probably into business to become a movie producer. So, try it, keep it short, try it, see what works. Experiment. That's one thing, and don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Get out there and do stuff, see how it works, and it's iterative. And then, I think the great thing is for those of you who are kind of not keen on the idea of long-form writing, things have gotten a lot more visual, and infographics are interesting. There are people out there that will create an infographic for you if you just give them a bunch of data points on your business and on your industry. This is probably more appropriate for a business-to-business offering. Because you really are helping educate your customer, and that's part of winning in the new content and influence marketing is providing free content that's useful, that's timely, that's relevant. And by the way, Google and the other search engines love all of those things too. So you're really slaying a lot of dragons if you get a calendar, an editorial calendar, content calendar together to be able to create things that are real world, useful, helpful, educational, and creative things for your business. So with that, I would love to, see if there's any last questions and see if we can have a couple minutes to have a dialogue if anybody has anything else.
Okay, great. Kate, thanks. I'm going to just give them a second here to pile in with some additional questions. While you guys out there are thinking about that, I'll just remind you that, at SCORE here, we do have 2 webinars each month, and as I said, occasionally 3 if there are 5 Tuesdays in a month. Our next one is December 18th, Financing Options for Small Businesses with Cliff Endico. So I see we do have a couple of, well, first I'll just answer Holly's question there. You can get these slides at fairfieldcounty.score.org by the end of the day with the audio. So that's the way to do that. Hopefully you've been taking some notes or it's fairfieldcounty.score.org. And then you can take Christine's there, Kate.
Love to. Okay, shoestring startup. Which are the 3 key ways to begin for free or cheap that you would recommend? Yeah, this is great. I think you are in luck because a website today, with Wix, W-I-X, you don't have to spend a dime to create a very simple, functional website. And all of the things that we talked about here in this last hour can be applied to be able to describe your business clearly and with relevant local points to it. Use nice visuals that you can pop in on free website services. Obviously, images are a major part of selling your business. And then I would build community, and whether you want to do that through, I think blogs are great. I do think that you need to, though, bring people to you. They're never going to necessarily find you if that's all you do. So I think you have to choose for a couple of sites, networking sites, like an Instagram or a LinkedIn, Facebook, depending on what business you're in. I know that with Facebook and Instagram increasingly, or probably soon, but maybe not yet, unless you spend, you're not going to get the eyeballs. It is an ad platform. They do work on impressions. So I would build a community, start that database I talked about, and build. When I started Avenue B Social Club back in 2004, I didn't have a marketing budget, 0. And as soon as I started my email list and started nurturing that and building that and putting that out weekly without fail on Friday morning or Friday afternoon, I started to build an audience, and it just took a little time, but it didn't take money. It took my time, which is worth money, but it was amazing to me how that was a good before and after story. So I would say build that customer list and start to communicate via email.
Good, great answer. Any more questions, guys? We've got a few minutes, and we can definitely handle a couple of questions. Budley, you usually have questions. Yeah, you did. I wonder, I sometimes go back and see if I missed any here. You talked about my business. So, yeah, there's Budley. Oh, so Holly, you're going. This is like, are you kidding? Thank you for the setting me up here. So again, on the 18th of December, we're going to have a webinar on that very subject, and that is raising money for a startup. Also, I just can't. I used to be a great salesman before I retired. Also, Holly, if you go to fairfieldcounty.score.org, click on the archives for these webinars. There are several in there that touch on this subject. They might be as much as 6 to 9 months old, so they're getting, but they're not irrelevant anymore. So that could get you started, and then tune in next 2 Tuesdays from now. You'll get the latest and greatest because Cliff updates his stuff all the time. Now I'm just looking at Linda Miller here. Kate, how do you start or build an email? I think you're going to have to give us a little more than that, unless, Kate, that is obvious to you.
Well, so Linda, I'm assuming you mean an email list, and because that's the only thing I can think that makes sense. So constant contact or exact target are two examples of companies you can go to right now and take a look, and you'll probably see a brief tutorial on their site. That's what I used when I started my business many years ago, or MailChimp, of course, is really popular. Bud just reminded me. And these are all just like really good user-friendly sites. They're low cost. And that's how you started. You would dump in on an Excel spreadsheet that's CSV, which is just what does that stand for? Comma separated. And so it's just like name, first name, last name, their email list, and what they are. In my view, it would be great to have a prospect, somebody who isn't yet a client. That would be one bucket that you create in your the company that you're going to use to help manage your database, which is an email list. They should have a phone too. I would really love to have that in there. The town they live in, obviously, all these important demographic things, and prospect, and then customer, because there's different communications going to go to that person that knows you, uses you, versus that person who's not yet been graced with your fabulous services. So that would be a nice thing to have those two different buckets, because sometimes you're going to shoot out an email that's going to be directly focused on just those loyal customers and so forth.
Okay, now your old friend, I think you know Jeff Seaver. Yeah, so Jeff's got a question for you here. Like many of Jeff's questions, it's not simple to answer, but you can read it there. Well, I'm kind of glad. Tell me when you've got it in your mind, and I'll give it back to you. Okay, go.
Thanks so much, Steve. Steve and I are going on the road with this show. We're getting good at the flipping back and forth. So, hey, Jeff, great question, and I think this is where, you need to have communications as job one within the organization. So you, in other words, share your wealth of knowledge in a timely and efficient way. So lunches, where brown bag lunch, where the topic is blah, and you're able to wax on intelligently about a topic, but the goal of that lunch is to come out of that lunch with some nuggets, and by the end of the day sort of have some drafts of things. And I think, with guidance, but it does probably need to be imparted from you and spur inspiration, and then Google can help to the rescue to help fill in the blanks. I don't know, does that seem like a solution?
Well, while Jeff is thinking there, I'll just say Bruce asked a question. What was Jeff's question? My apologies. I thought you could read it, but Jeff says it was a big challenge finding junior team members that can develop content and post with the same degree of compassion, knowledge, and juice as the company principals. Any thoughts on how to develop this? And that's what Kate was answering. So I think that's probably okay. I'm going to do one more here. Do you have one you want?
Another thought. I have another thought on that, Jeff. I also think, you're welcome. I see you, that hopefully that helped. But I also think that different perspectives are good. And while at the risk of sounding like I'm critiquing you, perhaps that younger person's compassion or knowledge doesn't feel quite up to par for you, but could have value to someone in their demographic and their age. They're speaking a language and looking at that issue through a lens which is perhaps different than our over 50 lens. So I think discussion around that is important, and knowledge sharing, and asking those younger colleagues that work for you, how do you see it? What do you think? Because this stuff's changing fast. So I think a dialogue's important.
Yeah, so Jeff was quick to throw in here that that question was really asked on behalf of his clients, not for him. I know Jeff a little bit too, and that's actually probably totally true. And both answers, by the way, I think apply. Both answers she gave. So we're going to kind of shut it off here. Since it's one on the button, and I'm very strict about these things. And so I really want to thank you all for attending. It's been a really good session, fantastic questions, fantastic answers. And again, we're going to have this financing a small business, the latest and greatest there from Cliff Enico 2 weeks from today, same bat time, same bat channel. Now I'm really showing my age. That should be noon to 1. So again, thank you very much. It was great to have you on board. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good job.